Okay, so I have my my little handcrafted tag. Now, I mean, I'm going to use, or handmade. I'm just using one that says handmade. If you've got one that has your own business logo, then use that. You may, if you've got business logo ones that are slightly bigger than these, which I think come in a fairly standard size, you may need to enlarge this area that you're going to put it in underneath the zipper. It's, you know, swings and roundabouts. You'll have to personalize it to suit your tags. So I'm just using a standard little handmade tag, and when they're purchased, you purchase them. They have two little prongs on the back, which are the fitting prongs, and you get a washer. I don't know if that's what you call it, but that's what I've always called them, washers that go on the back, and to fit them, the prongs go through the fabric, through the washer, and then you bend the prongs out. So very simple to fit, not really complicated. However, these washers are generic, and you'll find that you get the same washers sent with all sorts of different bits of hardware, and it's a mistake to think that the two prongs will go through the two end holes in your washer. So the best thing you can do is to fold the prongs on your hardware out at 90 degrees to the front of your tag, so that they're sitting at 90 degrees, and then pop the washer onto the back of your tag. Now you can see there, I don't know if you can see actually, yes you can, this end hole is actually obsolete, it's not necessary. So basically I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes between the ones that I want to use. Now I generally, if I can find a pen, will mark the central hole. So I've just literally put a little, I don't even know if you can see that, a little tiny pink mark on it. You won't see it, it's not going to have any impact on anything else. But because I want to use this as a template, I need to know where the central mark is, so I know I'm going to go through the end hole and that hole when I make my cut. So first things first, let's mark the center of this. So let's just, where's my chalk pen gone? Oh, there it is. So I'm just using a chalk pen to mark where the center of that sort of lump at the bottom is. And I'm going to position the washer on top of that area, so that with the central mark on the central line, so that I know where I want to make my cuts. Now you can position this wherever you want to, but you will need to keep it positioned lower rather than higher. You don't want it to get in the way when you top stitch around your zipper, so putting it too high is a mistake. So I just use a little bit of chalk from my chalk pen, tapped in to mark where the cuts need to be made for my hardware to go in. And then I'm going to use my craft knife, so you can see there that I've got marks on there. I'm going to use my craft knife, and I'm just going to make cuts that go through both layers of fabric. Now if you a lot of people like to use a seam ripper to cut these holes. Personally, I think that's incredibly dangerous. And I just don't do it because I'm not very good with a seam ripper. I don't feel like I have control. If that's your preferred method, feel free to do that. So having made the two little cuts, I then push the prongs of the tag through those holes. If you want to pop a little bit of glue behind the tag, you can do. I never do, but it's something that I know some people prefer to do. They feel that it's safer that way. Make sure that it sits nice and straight on the front of your bag. Turn your work wrong side up. Now, if your faux leather is very flimsy, or you've made a thinner fabric version, you might want to put a little bit of extra stabilizer on before you put your washer on. I'm not going to in this instance. Pop your washer on, push it right down, and then push the prongs out to the side. Now I always like to use a bit of what I call bag maker's friend, which is duct tape. And yes, this is duct tape, even though it's got flamingos on it. I've also got skulls. I know it's never going to be seen, but I know it's there. How sad am I? So what we don't want is for the prongs on the back of our hardware to rub on the lining of our bag. So these have got quite sharp edges on the back of the washer and on the edges of the prongs. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop a little bit of masking of duct tape over the top. I'm keeping it as far away from the aperture as I can, so it's only overlapping at the top of that piece of hardware by about 1/8 of an inch, but it completely covers the entire back of that piece of hardware. Now, I know I have a penchant for using a chalk pen, and I can use either a wet finger, and yes, I am licking my finger, or a baby wipe to remove the chalk marks. And there we go, my hardware is now fitted, and I've used silver because the main fabric is gold, and I actually think too much gold would be too much. So you can get rid of all your extra marks that you've made at this point. So there we go, that's the next stage done. Next we're going to look at I'm going to talk about foam, I'm going to talk about fusible fleece, and we're going to make the zipper aperture. We're going to make the zipper, the zipper is attached to the lining, so we're going to construct the front part of the lining.